Everyone, welcome back to Unsolicited Bourbon Reviews, and this is going to be episode 45. And today we're going to go ahead and review Uncle Nearest 1856 Premium Whiskey. So we're going to go ahead. This is a first time Friday bottle on a Wednesday. So this bottle in particular definitely has a lot of dated facts. So we'll go ahead and just get into it before we start our sips to give some time to breathe. But so for those who don't know, Uncle Nearest has a really interesting history. So it was founded, the company was based off of really historical context under Nathan Green, who was a freed slave who taught Jack Daniels how to distill whiskey. So the story is, as a slave, he worked for a preacher on a farm, and kind of as a side hustle, he ran the distillery that the preacher ran down there in the Lynchburg area. So when Jack Daniels was a boy, his actual name was Jasper, but not important. So he was interested in the process, and then eventually Uncle Nearest, which was his nickname, Nathan Green, took young Jack Daniels under his wing and taught him how to distill whiskey. But the really cool context, or we'll say fact about this, is that Uncle Nearest invented the Lincoln County process. So for those who need a refresher, so the Lincoln County process is essentially how they distill Tennessee whiskey. It's the charcoal filtration process that they use to distill the whiskey after it's done aging in the barrels. So how that came to be in terms of introduced to distilling whiskey is that Uncle Nearest, again, when he was a slave in Africa, especially from West Africa, how they filtered water was through charcoal. So he applied the same filtration principles and process that they did when he lived in Africa before he's brought over here to the USA as a slave, and then applied that to whiskey. And then again, over time, they used maple charcoal for that nice maple flavor. So after the 13th Amendment, Uncle Nearest was a freed man, and shortly after that, Jack Daniels purchased a distillery and offered to, bring him in as the master distiller of Jack Daniels. So, one of the original recipes of Jack Daniels is actually Uncle Nearest's recipe. But there is, over time, the distilleries, I think they're on the 5th generation now. They're here in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Is run not only by a woman, but a black woman. So it's one of the few black-owned distilleries their existence here, and especially here within a major national market, which is really cool. But again, it's just really interesting how the story of Jack Daniels, they don't really shed to light Uncle Nearest. I think, again, now there's a little more controversy with the family. From what I understand, in terms of proprietary information with the recipe, and how they don't necessarily include the credibility of Uncle Nearest and how it brought to be for what Jack Daniels is today, which is the highest grossing whiskey distillery in the world. They sell the most bottles, and again, I think a lot has to do with it that the recipe itself and the process itself that we use today was by a former slave and eventually a freed man. So again, I'm not reading too far into it, but I'm sure that has everything to do with it. But enough about that. So about the bottle. So this is a blend. It's a 50. It's 100 proof, 50% alcohol. It's a mix of bottles or barrels that are anywhere from 8 to 12 year old within the age. It's sourced. Where it's sourced, or what's the blend of, it's not disclosed. Mash bill is not disclosed, but just based on the smell of it, I would assume it's probably a high rye. It definitely has that rye bite to it. But again, I'm really excited to try this, and we'll check it out, and we'll take a sip, and we'll give it a couple good reviews. So I'll go ahead. I do get some caramel, some oak, that rye spice on there. For being 100 proof, I don't really get a whole lot of that ethanol, which is, again, a good thing. So this is probably a little bit smoother, and it definitely would show that it's a little more accurate to that age, what they advertise for age again. So it's a nice color, and we'll give it a sip. got some bite. Real good. It's real smooth. Does have a little bite in the front. Definitely caramel and vanilla. Kind of a citrusy taste, so I think that's where that rye kicks in. Go and give it another sip. Really smooth for being 100 proof. Great sipping whiskey. So vanilla, some marshmallow, buttery, and then again that kind of citrus bite to it. Let's rate it. So I'd say for price point, this was $51. Not terrible. So I'd say for price, it's a 6, and for taste, I get a 7.5. So we'll go ahead and reel it in with 7. So.